We're so close, guys. This is The Bitter Side of Sweet, Chapter 23. Whirling from the opening door, I push Sadhu ahead of me into the kitchen and shove us both under the table. I tuck my head so that my eyes won't shine in the darkness and give us away. So much for having a guard, I think. I listen with every fiber in my body, my mind racing for what I can do to help, my heart leaping around in my chest like maize thrown into a pan of frying oil. I have to get out of here. I hear men's footsteps start across the front room, heading for the bedrooms. I can't leave without Khadijah. They're not trying to be quiet about it. I won't let Sadhu be hurt again. I bite my lower lip so hard the rusty taste of blood floods my mouth. I force myself to stand and peek around the kitchen door frame, Sadhu pressed to my back. I see the shadowy forms of 3 men, but I can't do anything about that. I'll get Sadhu to safety, then I'll come see what I can do here. With that thought, I turn and slink to the kitchen door, Sadhu's hand gripped in mine. I don't really have a choice. I have to get out of the house. I crack the door and peer out into the dark yard. When I see shadowy figures hurrying through it, I nearly bolt back into the kitchen. But something stops me. I look at them again and realize I know those shapes. I have no idea how Khadijah and her mother got out, but taking one more quick look around, I dash to join them. They freeze when they see us running at them, but then I catch up to them and grab Khadijah's hand. Mrs. Kaplan takes her other one. Behind us, I hear the men shouting ugly things and a steady smashing sound. They're trying to break down the bedroom doors. They don't yet know that we're out here, but we don't have much longer. A tug on my hand tells me that Khadijah's mother has realized this too and is pulling us to the big gate. I see Fabrice's slumped form in the shadows off to the side. I hope he's all right. Mrs. Cablin goes over to him and feels at his neck, then rejoins us. Khadijah dashes ahead and pulls the bolt open slowly so it doesn't squeak. She pokes her head into the street, then she turns to her mother. "What if they're out there too?" she whispers. "Doesn't matter," Mrs. Coblin murmurs. "We have to get away from here. Run to the right as fast as you can, and if we get split up, meet me at the newspaper headquarters. We'll borrow one of their cars." I have no idea where her newspaper headquarters is, so I clench my teeth and decide not to be left behind. "Ready to run?" I whisper to Sadhu as Khadijah's mother slips out of the gate. He nods, a well-controlled fear hiding behind the courage in his eyes. I give his hand a quick squeeze. And then we run. We dash from their house into the street and around the corner. I'm sure we've been seen, but right now no one is chasing us. As I dodge behind Khadijah, I wonder whether this will be my life. Always needing to run, never feeling safe. Up ahead, Khadijah's mother slows to a walk that takes her daughter's hand. I copy her casual pose as we turn another corner, and now we're on a street lined with shops. Music pours out into the dark spaces between the lights, and people linger together. I try not to look too suspicious as I follow along, but I know that my breath is still fast from running, and I can't help my eyes darting from face to face, looking for danger. I feel wound tight inside with uncertainty as we walk, block after block, past people and cars. Some stare at us, some ignore us. All of them make the prickling fear climbing my neck stronger. Finally, just when I think I can't take it anymore, we get to a high wall. Khadijah's mother knocks on the gate and the night guard lets us in. But even when the gate closes behind us and the guard hands her a set of keys, Khadijah's mother keeps walking quickly. We're not safe yet. She takes us around to a low car shelter. "Get in," she says, stopping by a white Jeep, and we all do. The cold plastic of the back seat crinkles under me as I slide in after Sadhu. Khadijah sits on his other side. As soon as we're in, her mother drives the Jeep to the front gate. The night guard comes to her window. Mrs. Kaplan speaks quickly and urgently. I hear Fabrice's name and see the guard nod. After their quick conversation, he opens the gate. Khadijah's mother cranks the window closed again and says over her shoulder to us, "Stay down and don't let anyone see you." The 3 of us scoot onto the floor. It's uncomfortable, but we stay still and silent as Khadijah's mother drives out of the newspaper compound and navigates through the traffic. I watch her neck as she dries. I can see the taut muscles pulling against the skin there. I tell myself that when I see her relax, I will too. Until then, I stay on high alert. It feels like hours, though I'm not sure it's nearly that long, when Khadijah's mother finally says, "Okay, you can get up now." I hoist myself off the floor and feel the other two settle onto the seat beside me. Looking out, I see the taller buildings and brighter lights shrinking in the background. Ahead, I see darkness. We're driving into the countryside. I feel darkness inside, too. "Where are we going?" asks Khadijah. "Right now we're just putting some distance between ourselves and San Pedro," her mother replies, drumming her fingers on the steering wheel. "That was too close, far, far too close." Her voice is shaky, but I can see that the tension has gone out of her neck. I collapse against the seat. "Try to sleep," Khadijah's mother says. "Once we've gotten away a bit, we'll stop and have a think about what we're going to do next." Khadijah makes a small sound, which I take to be agreement. Or maybe it came from me. I don't know anymore. It's been too long since I've slept. Too long since I've felt safe. Sadhu tucks his feet up beside me and leans into Khadijah. I rest my head against the window and close my eyes. With every slow jostle of the Jeep, my head smacks against the glass. I was hoping that it would be enough to keep me awake, since I know that I need to be paying attention, but against my will, I find myself falling asleep. When I wake up later, there's no vibration of a motor, and moonlit leaves are plastered against the glass beside my face. I glance around, disoriented. Out the window over Khadijah's head, I see a brighter patch that is the road. I realize Mrs. Coblin must have pulled off into the bush. Sadhu and Khadijah breathe evenly beside me, but I hear a soft muttering from the front of the Jeep that tells me Khadijah's mother isn't sleeping. "Madame?" I whisper. The noises stop abruptly. "I'm sorry, Amadou. Did I wake you?" "No, I just woke up. I think because we stopped." "Why have we stopped?" I see her wave a shadowy hand in the near darkness. "I was getting too tired to drive safely. I figured it would be better to pull over and get some sleep before going much farther." I take a chance and state the obvious. "You're not sleeping, madame." Khadijah's mother gives a tight laugh. "You're right. I was only able to turn the car off, not my brain." I sink my head against the cold plastic and let my eyelids drift close. I know exactly what she means. The exhaustion of the last few days washes over me. The worry about what's going to happen next follows close on its heels. Though it feels like heavy weights are pushing on them, I force my eyelids open. There are things that need to be decided. "Madame, when we get going again, where are we going?" I see her rub tiredly at her forehead. I wonder if she has a headache. "I've been trying to decide. What we really need to do is get as far from here as we possibly can. I won't let Khadijah get taken again. And San Pedro's no place for two Malian boys who don't speak any French." "So?" "So," she says, rubbing away, "I think maybe the best thing to do would be to find some rural border crossing into Liberia, somewhere out of the way, somewhere so small we can hope that they don't have a functioning radio. From there, the paper should be able to get us out to France, and no one in the Liberian government is likely to detain us on our way out." Liberia? I've never heard of it. "Is Liberia near Mali?" I ask. There's a brief silence, then in a soft voice, "No, my dear, and that's a problem I haven't figured out yet. Liberia is on the coast. Mali is to the north. All of Guinea is between. We're nowhere near Mali. I'm so sorry. I know that Khadijah promised you that I'd get you home, but she didn't understand the situation." Her voice breaks slightly as she crushes my hope. "I'm going to have to leave you somewhere as safe as I can manage here or in Liberia. I can't take you to Mali." It feels like my heart is a handful of packed mud thrown into water, dissolving away until there's nothing left. To get Sadhu home, I now have to cross an entire country. I look over at a small form curled against Khadijah and force myself to breathe again. I don't know how, but I'm going to take care of him. Really, when I think about it, my main problem was assuming that she would be able to help me. I remind myself that I've learned no one really helps you. Not true, whispers a little voice, and I want to brush it off, want to stay angry. But the fact is I can't. Though she got us into a heap of trouble, Sadhu and I would never have made it off the farm without Khadijah. And though her mother won't help us get home, she did feed us and give us new clothes and get a doctor for Sadhu and take us with her when she was escaping the chocolate men. Unbidden, other images flashed through my mind. Sadhu putting mangoes in the sack of pods, and the other boys, especially Yusuf, being kind when they could and when I would let them. Thinking of Yusuf makes my heart clench unexpectedly. I wonder where he is right now and what he's doing. I realize that I'll probably never see him again. I'll probably never know whether he escaped or is back in the padlocked hut with a new crop of boys. I've spent more than 2 years telling myself that I didn't care about anyone but Sadhu. I'm surprised to find that, all that time, I was lying. Excuse me? Yes, Amadou, her voice is so tired. I almost regret speaking again, but I need to know. And your article? What's going to happen with the article you were writing about the boys who work in the chocolate fields? There's a small pause, and when she speaks, her voice is heavy with regret. Nothing. Nothing? That's not what I was expecting. Not from a woman who was so dedicated to the story that she kept working, even in the face of threats and silent phone calls. Khadijah's mother sighs. There's nothing to be done. I won't stay in this country 1 minute longer than I have to. Not with what happened to Khadijah. But there's still so much that's missing from what I was going to write. The newspapers and magazines will never publish a half-researched article. No, I say, gripping the side of her seat. The strength of my feeling has pulled me forward. It's lucky that Sadie wasn't leaning against me, or he would have fallen. Your story must go out there, madam. If you don't write it, then we won't have anyone to speak for us. Her exhausted silence is its own answer. After what seems like a long time, she whispers, I'm afraid I have no good answers for you tonight, Amadou. I'm sorry. I uncurl my fingers from the upholstery and push my shoulders into the seat, but I can't relax. After a few minutes, I hear her breathing even out, and I know that exhaustion has finally overtaken her, and she's fallen asleep. But I feel like someone has kicked a hive of wasps inside me. Feelings swarm around my belly and chest with no way out, stinging my heart and filling my thoughts with venom. Khadijah's being taken away from her home. Sadhu and I are being dumped in a country where we don't know the language, with no one to help us. Mrs. Coblin's article isn't going to get published, and no one will ever know the fate of all the chocolate boys. Thousands. Mrs. Coblin had said that she was first telling us of her article. There are thousands of kids like us, working across the country to make a sweet for rich kids in other places. Thousands. It's a number that matters so much I can't wrap my mind around it. Yusuf's face stares at me, the boys huddled behind him the way they looked when I knocked the lock off the sleeping hut. I decide in that moment that Sadie was right all along. If we're going to escape, we need to take everyone with us. I reach over and shake Khadijah and Sadhu. They startle awake silently, tense to run. We need to talk, I say, pitching my voice low and soft so as not to wake Mrs. Coblin. What is it? Asks Khadijah. I take a deep breath. I was talking to your mama before she fell asleep, I say, and she says that she's not going to finish her article. So, yawns Sadhu. I think, Khadijah says slowly, that we have bigger problems to think about right now, don't you? I grind my teeth in frustration. Of course we have bigger problems right now, I say. But don't you see? If we only ever deal with our problems right now, then everything else never gets talked about. Your mama has to write her article so that people find out about this. What difference is that going to make? Khadijah asks. I don't know, I admit. Maybe none. but I still feel we owe it to the kids who are stuck out there. I struggle to find the words for what I mean. Think of Yusuf, I say to Sadhu, and all the others on the farm. And it's not just them. Mrs. Coplin said there are thousands of kids on farms like ours all across Ivory Coast. And you, I turn to Khadijah, you've only been gone for 9 days. But even so, weren't there times when you wished you could tell someone where you were? When you needed so badly for someone to know what was happening to you that it felt like trying to breathe with rocks on your chest every second of every day? Sadhu nods. Yes, Khadijah whispers so softly I can barely hear it. It's quiet, but it's enough. We can't do much for those kids, I say, but they may never get away and have a chance to tell their story. We do. You're right, says Khadijah finally. I feel like the sky has opened again and my feelings pour out of me into it. So what do we need to do? Asks Sadhu. He sounds so grown up. I look at him for a moment in the moonlit darkness and realize that he's no longer my clueless baby brother. My heart twists a little, wondering whether my cricket might be gone for good. When Mrs. Coplin wakes up, we get her to finish writing her article, I say. We make her listen to our story and write it down. That's what we have to do. Why should we wait? Asks Khadijah. Let's do it now. I don't think, I say, remembering how tired she was just moments ago, but Khadijah's already leaning forward and shaking Mrs. Coplin's shoulder. Mama! Mrs. Coplin lurches awake, grabbing the wheel. What? What is it? She gasps. We need to talk, says Khadijah.